Alright YouTube, what's going on? It's Hightower 5000 here today, bringing you episode number 1 of Rune Talks. This is going to be a brand new series which I'm going to bring you an episode every now and then. Don't know how regular I am going to bring you an episode, but this basically just allows me to talk about RuneScape updates and some other stuff about RuneScape as well, without including it in, for example, like the Road to Mat series or in quests. So I've been wanting to do this series for a while, or a series like this anyway, because as you know I really do like to talk and I like to get other people's opinions as well. So basically what I'm going to be doing is sort of having a discussion basically with you, and then you can leave comments in the comment section below, and then occasionally on episodes, for example, what I want to do is actually bring people onto this in a dual commentary Skype sort of thing, and then get other people's opinions as well. So anyway, today's episode is going to be about Rune Labs, and Rune Labs is a brand new feature which has been added into RuneScape 3. Now just before I actually get started with this as well, it's not going to be limited to just RuneScape 3 as well. This is going to open up old school as well, so there's one thing I do want to talk about is old school RuneScape Grand Exchange as well, so we'll talk about that at some point as well. So this is going to be mixing in both RuneScapes actually. It's just going to mix in the whole game as a whole, because I do think any old school I might start to play it a little bit, which I'll explain about in the old school video in Rune Talks, which I'll probably do at a later date. Anyway, so first of all, in the background you're just going to be watching some of my current Slayer tasks and Blue Dragons, so it's not overly exciting, but I thought I'd put something in the background anyway, and on the occasion I'll also be bringing up a reference to Rune Labs. So first of all, what is Rune Labs? Well, Rune Labs is this idea basically that's putting your ideas into RuneScape 3. So there's a 5-step process which, as you can see on screen, and there's also a video to it which I'll put a link down to in the description below, and basically it's this system which sort of gets your ideas into game. So step 1 is submit your idea, step 2 is other players support your idea, step 3 is ideas are reviewed by Jagex, step 4 player powering vote, so it's basically let players vote for what they want to see, and then finally step 5, get your ideas made by the RuneScape team. So let's break this down a little bit. So first of all, obviously step 1 is you submit an idea. So what there is basically on the Rune Labs section, basically there's a now Rune Labs section which has been added under the community section of the RuneScape website. And basically what it's got is it's got loads of players adding in ideas. That's where you add in your idea, and basically there's sort of certain criteria which they're going to put out every single month that they want the players to sort of fill. So as you can see here, it says in January we'll be looking for medium-sized projects or lower, something like the Calphite King, Guthanix's Catch and Shadow over Ashdale. As long as it's no larger than medium-sized, it can be any sort of game content. So I mean, I think this month's anyway is quite open anyway. I think if I'm honest, I think this month is sort of a trial month. They're just going to see how it goes, how many ideas they get. I think obviously this month's going to be a little bit of an exception, just because everyone might have had ideas for a few years and all of a sudden they're putting them out there. But it's interesting anyway, because it also shows how much time, for example, the RuneScape team has got. Obviously, if they've got events coming up, such as the World event, then that month when that gets launched, I can imagine they'll probably be only doing something small. Same with maybe the RuneFest month as well. But for example, maybe in the summer, throughout summer, they might do a large project. So that'd be quite interesting to see. Anyway, so step 2 is other players support your idea. Now, not trying to be offensive to anyone's idea, and it might sound great in your head. I've got 1 or 2 ideas myself, which I'll talk about later on in the video. But overall they might actually not be very good ideas, or other players might not feel they're good ideas. So what there basically is there's this whole list of ideas which you can see here, and then basically you can click on them, have a read, and then you get the option to vote for it. There's no like, dislike or negative button, there's just a like and vote for button. So I think basically that means that if it gets loads of like support, then what will happen is in step 3 ideas will be reviewed by Jagex. So I assume what's going to happen is Jagex is going to see probably the top 5-10 ideas sort of, and they're going to start to review them. So by reviewing the ideas anyway from the video, what they said was that they're going to look at all the ideas, maybe the top 10, and what they're going to do is see what is best fit for purpose for the game. At the end of the day, for example, if 10 really good ideas are put forward, then they can't put them all in, which is quite unfortunate. They probably would like to, but obviously they don't have the staff for that. So they're going to look at that list and see, okay, which one out of all 10 of them is most voted for, most requested by the players, but also what would actually suit the game and what's more needed in the game, for example. So in a sense, yeah, it's our ideas, but it's still sort of actually masked by Jagex itself. Also depends on the capabilities of them. I'm pretty sure the Jagex team can do absolutely anything they want to, but then from that, what they'll do in step 3 is choose, maybe limit that down to maybe 4 or 5 ideas, and then they'll put that to a vote. So obviously in-game RuneScape you get a voting system basically where you can vote about the best ideas that you want to see added into the game, and then once that is decided, step 5, they're going to go and make your idea. So I think this is actually a very good process actually, and I now want to talk about why I think Rune Labs is going to be a great addition to RuneScape 3. So RuneScape 3's never had something like this before anyway. Obviously on occasions if someone submitted an idea, for example through the forum, then ideas would get submitted and they get added into the game. That was the way how it was done previously. However, in a sense, players didn't get to vote for it. Basically all you would do is write maybe a comment on the thread saying this is a very good idea, I think it should be implemented in, and then some mods would see that that's a good idea and then it get passed on to the Jagex main team. Now with this it makes it a lot more obvious, first of all anyway, to see what ideas are definitely doing better than others. Although right now for example the forum or Rune Labs anyway is a bit of a mess just because of players adding so many ideas at once. There's new ideas like going in every 30 seconds right now, but the support feature only got added I think today, so I think that's partially why. I do reckon the volume of ideas anyway will decrease at some point, but this just really will show actually how popular certain ideas are and how badly they're wanted in the game. So I think that is one good thing about Rune Labs. I think also one thing as well is allowing us in RuneScape 3 to vote. Now if you don't know what happens in old school, basically a similar system sort of works where ideas get put forward by sometimes players or sometimes the Jagex team, and then they get put to a vote. So in a sense this really means that in old school the players decide who play old school, and I think that's how it should be. The players get to decide if the content comes in. Now for example recently there was the Grand Exchange update that is about to come into the game. It got passed. Basically you need to get 75% in the poll to bring in an update, so they put up Grand Exchange. Would you like to see that in? The trading post system I thought didn't work too well anyway, and I thought they needed a Grand Exchange, and eventually I think that did pass. It got just over 75%, but it was the players who decided that and it wasn't Jagex taking that decision on behalf of the players. And I think giving the control to the players anyway, at least with some of the updates anyway, is very crucial because for example let's think back to EOC. Now the first thing is here that I'm saying EOC was not a bad update. I'm saying how they updated it though was bad. They assumed that for example most people wanted a new combat system, and that wasn't very true. If they brought out the new combat system and still brought in something like Legacy straight away, or kept the old combat system or had it sort of integrate over time, then that wouldn't have been too bad. But what happened is they just went from the old system to the new system, and that's why a lot of people quit. And I think if they had a system like Rune Labs in-game, then basically I don't think a lot of players would have quit, and this maybe wouldn't have came to just bringing out EOC. They might have brought out something with OC as well to accommodate those other players who didn't want that sort of update. So please tell me in the comment section below, do you think Rune Labs is a good idea or a bad idea? One other thing as well about Rune Labs which I really like is you actually get to see sort of different thought process of other players as well, and just see it as a whole. I'm very interested in what people have to say about RuneScape, what people's ideas are, so it's actually really interesting to just go into the Rune Labs thing and read through all the ideas and see which ones I think should be implemented into the game. Obviously everyone's opinion is different, but that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to move on to some ideas. Alright, so first of all, to say this is a little idea, it's not a very big idea. It probably only take maybe a very small amount of time to implement into the game anyway, but for example when I do farming runs, what I tend to do is I tend to use a spirit tree. If you don't know what this is, it's a tree teleportation method which spans across RuneScape. So when I'm on a farming run I tend to go from Varrock to the tree gnome village and then usually up to the stronghold after that as well. And it's made quite easy because when you go to teleport anyway, what happens is you get this screen, it tells you basically all the spirit trees around RuneScape, and what you can do is select the number and it'll teleport you to that one. Quite easy, so you do not have to click at all. So that makes that part of it anyway very, very easy. But for example, when I want to go to the fruit tree spot in Karamja, when I go to charter a ship from Carther Bay to Brimhaven, unfortunately there's not an option like that. I have to manually go over and click on it, and what I think anyway, as I said, it is a very small update, just assign each port with a number. So for example, just assign Brimhaven as port number 3 or something like that. I can just hit number 3 and then hit 1 OK, and then I don't even have to click the mouse. I realise it's not a major thing and it's not going to make me quit RuneScape if it's not added in, but it's just these little things, you know, that will help out. Obviously it might make the farm run a few seconds faster. I'm not bothered about saving that time, but it's a bit inconsistent. For example, you have one transport method, it has that sort of number system where you can just press a number and it teleports you out, whereas on the sailing one, which is probably, I would say, the most used maybe transport system in RuneScape anyway, then you don't really get that, and that doesn't really make sense. So I might add that to Rune Labs. For all I know it's already on Rune Labs anyway, but I think that'd just be nice to see something like that in game. Alright, so let's go and look at some ideas on Rune Labs itself. So this one here I think is a very good idea. Divination Clan Skill Plot. So basically if you're part of a clan, basically get this thing called the Citadel, and basically it's where you can collect resources for your clan. As it says here, most of them are AFK. divination is an AFK skill basically, so why shouldn't it be added in? It says here mostly all the skills in the clan's citadel are AFK skills. Divination is another semi-AFK skill. There have not been any additional skill plots lately, and I think adding a divination plot would be very helpful for training such a slow skill. It can be spun off as gathering divine energy for the clan to possibly use to build something such as divine statue or some additional enhancements to how the portal looks, or to make anything look more divine-like. So I mean, I think something like this would be quite good. Obviously if you're in a clan then you'll understand. If you're not in a clan it's a little bit different, you might not vote for this anyway, but it just would make a lot more sense anyway. I think it's another way to train divination as well. Alright, so what I'm doing right now anyway is just looking down the list, and there's new stuff coming all the time, so I refreshed and I've seen this one here which I think is a very good idea. It's a Rune Collector Dungeoneering reward. So if I read the description here, it says there should be a Dungeoneering reward similar to the Charming Imp that picks up runes and automatically puts them into your inventory. It could also have the option of turning the runes into small amounts of magic XP, just like the Imp does with charms and summoning. So first of all, if you don't know what the Charming Imp is, basically if you have it on your character when, for example, you're doing Slayer, then what it'll do is it will pick up all the charms which the monsters drop that you kill. So it saves you going over to where the loot is, right click, picking up the charm. It means that you can just focus more on the killing of the monsters anyway, and for example it speeds up Slayer tasks a lot. It also means that you don't have to sort of pay attention to items on the ground either. And overall it is a really good thing to have, especially if you're going for a very high summoning level. This would make sense as well. I don't think it would be as badly needed as the Imp Charm, because obviously you can just go ahead and buy runes on the G, whereas you can't buy charms on the G. But I think, for example, if it was something in game, I probably would have it, because the amount of monsters that actually drop runes, for example, is a large amount. And also as well, if you could turn it into small amounts of magic experience, then that would just make life a little bit easier, because you can, in a sense, you can actually train magic with magic items, because that's what runes really are, magic items. So I mean, tell me what you think about that one. I think that would actually be a very good one. I'd like to see that in the game. Obviously I would say that's a small update anyway. It wouldn't also require it very long to put into the game, but it's just interesting to see how people think about all these ideas. Okay, so one more idea before I finish up this video. So this one I think is a very good idea. So add spirit shards as a drop. Now if you don't know what spirit shards are, these are basically your secondary ingredients. So what you need for making a pouch in summoning is you need a charm of some sort, you need a pouch, you need spirit shards, and then you also need your tertiary ingredient. For example, a steel bar, a banana, those sort of stuff anyway. So one thing that does make summoning very expensive anyway is the price of spirit shards. Now for some pouches you need like 100, maybe 200 even spirit shards just to make it, and they cost 25 GP each. So if you're training, for example, loads and loads of summoning, you're maybe doing 1,000 pouches, and that is really going to add up, and I think that's partially why summoning is so expensive. Anyway, so if we read what it says here, it basically says summoning is a skill which it is impossible to gain levels without spending large amounts of gold on spirit shards, with virtually no return to your investment other than extra levels. Which is very true, to be honest, because you usually spend loads and loads on making these things, then you only get about a fifth of the price back. My idea is to make spirit shards a drop for many different creatures, maybe 5 to 10 shards for low level creatures, increasing to thousands for higher level bosses. I think this is probably actually one of the best that I have shared with you today. Definitely a lot better than mine anyway. See, I never thought of this, for example, and this is why I think Rune Labs is a great idea. But having this anyway, it makes summoning a lot more cheaper skill, and the thing is, summoning is one of these skills actually which really is worth training up. And the thing is, I mean, I think a lot of people have the charms and all that stuff to do summoning, but just because it costs so much, they kind of put it off. And if spirit shards were a lot cheaper, for example, I reckon I would be using my charms up a lot faster anyway, because I tend to just put summoning off to the side, save up a lot of charms, then I do it and I make a big loss. But if the shards were a little bit cheaper anyway, then I'd maybe go ahead and do summoning more off. So again, tell me what you think about that idea as well. Actually, I think that is a very good idea, and I really think that should be added into the game. Again, I'm not really at all sure what Jagex would classify all these ideas as, if they classify them as small or mediums. I might say the shard ones is a medium actually. You might think, oh, it's a small one because it's just adding in an item. But remember, you'd also have to add it in, for example, to all of the monsters throughout the game, which would take quite a while. Anyway, so that basically concludes the first episode of Rune Talks. Tell me what you think of this series. I think this series could go quite far actually. It's going to be sort of a debate thing. As I said, I could maybe have people on this as well, and what I can do is discuss certain updates and things about RuneScape anyway. It's not just going to be updates definitely, but what I might do as well, I've got loads of topics in mind. Some of them are here, for example, so the old school Grand Exchange, I want to talk about that. Also got the World Event number 3 coming up, which is related to Turask, Double XP Weekend, skill revamps, new skills, all this sort of stuff that I could talk about. Also might come back and talk about Rune Labs again actually, or just do videos where I go through the ideas I pick out my favourite ones, and basically you tell me if you agree with me or not. So I could do stuff like that anyway. I'll probably do maybe one of these a week anyway. Hopefully I'll still be able to do at least a road to max and a quest as well. Also, I mean, for a while, as I said earlier on at the start of the video, I really wanted to just start sort of a discussion series and basically start to connect more with the viewers of my videos. So thank you very much anyway. And yeah, I guess tell me what you think about this whole series, about all the content in this video, about all the ideas that I have mentioned. And yeah, I guess that wraps up this video. So please leave this video a like rating. If you've not subscribed, then hit the subscribe button. Check the links out in the description below, and I'll catch you later. Adios.